Gaur Hari, Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you here on this very auspicious day of Vijayadashmi. Very happy to be here with all of you and to share today some insights on the Bhagavad Gita, especially the first chapter. In the last two sessions or so, we were able to actually see many things. Mainly, we were able to get an insight into the Bhagavad Gita and its various simple aspects, that is the introduction to it. And we were able to check out something about the greatness of the Gita. We were able to read into Shankaracharya's Gita Mahatmya. And we also checked out the first shloka, Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre. We heard about the greatness of this place called Kurukshetra. We sort of got an overview. We also could get an understanding of the staging of this situation, the setting. The first chapter is called Setting the Scene. We got an understanding there too. So I will now try to share my screen with all of you. I think you can see my screen. I am today trying to go into the first chapter a little bit. And although we did the first shloka, we are going to try and understand something more from the first shloka and the key points in the first shloka. Before I go into that, I like to welcome everybody. Today is Vijayadashmi, and today is Victory Day, victory of good over evil, like they commonly describe it. Victory of Lord Ramachandra over Ravana. Victory over the Lord, Supreme Godhead's forces over those of evil. In this world, somehow or the other, there is evil. And there is always a great discussion about why evil is present if God is there. And the Christian theology, it's called theodicy, a whole philosophical understanding or an attempted understanding why there is evil in this world if God is in charge. There's a philosophical understanding that they're not able to get through. But the Bhagavad Gita brilliantly explains that. We are right here situated on a war, in a battlefield. And Krishna is going to give amazing instructions to Arjuna. And Arjuna's instructions cover all these things. Vijayadashmi means, although there is evil in this world, and that evil is caused mostly by people of this world who use their independence improperly, and they don't follow God's instructions. They don't follow laws made by God. They have their own man-made laws, and they have rejected God's laws. Like our country is a secular country. Secular country means we separate religion from the state. You guys can practice what religion you want. We don't care about it. The state or the government doesn't require religion. It's going to rule people without God, without religion, without God's laws. And unfortunately, or unfortunately, definitely unfortunately, that's the type of constitution that India made. That's the type of constitution that the Britishers brainwashed Indians to make. So they're left here by secularizing India in this great land where Bhagavad Gita was spoken. But as we are hearing the Bhagavad Gita, you will know here, right here is the solution to these type of theodicy, the presence of evil. at what is actually happening in this world and why this war is taking place, because of the fact that certain people don't want to follow God's laws, right? And here is a brilliant person who wants to follow the laws. He wants to be a gentleman. He wants to be a good soul. He wants to follow Krishna's order. He wants to be good, and still he is not able to because of all these forces around. And it's not just a discussion between ordinary problems that we have alone. It is a massive coverage of many important philosophical queries, moral queries, ethical queries that a human being has, who has intelligence, who is thoughtful, and is thinking and asking questions. It is a conversation to satisfy those type of queries. So the setting is in that type of a situation. So last time we discussed this, and Arjuna is flummoxed. It is happening right there. If you remember right in the beginning, we saw that Dhritarashtra's inquiry, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, and then you will see that there is Duryodhana's diplomacy and his fear, a subtle fear which he does not show, but he praises his own army, praises Bhishma. Bhishma blows the conch shell, and then Pandavas blow their conch shell from that side. It shatters them and sends shivers down all of the army members of Duryodhana, of the Kauravas. And then Arjuna wants to scan the battlefield. And you'll see from Shloka 21 onwards. If you have the Bhagavad Gita in front of you, you can open 21. The other shlokas that you could go through, they are descriptive and describes all the different members of both of the warring factions, and then the blowing of the conch shells, the name of the conch shells, etc. Those details you can study and read. It's just a read through that you can know. Then Arjuna takes a look and then he says, Senayor ubayor madhye ratam sthapayayame achyuta yavat etan nirikshayaham yodhu kaman avastitan. I'm reading from text 21 and 22. If you have, please open your book. Kair maya sahayodhavyam asmin ranasamudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So here starts Arjuna's action. After blowing the conch shell, after feeling great, Arjuna wants to assess. You call this even in marketing, you call this even in big people who are running companies, even in war, even in political this thing, you call it an environmental scan. I think you must have heard of it, some of you corporate guys. An environmental scan means looking around and checking who is what is my situation, what's my coordinates in this space, and whom am I supposed to contend with, who are my friends, who are my supporters, who are my opponents, and what do I need to achieve, what possible strategy I could adopt, and what possible response will be there for that strategy, how I can navigate and get what I want. Anybody would do that. Any intelligent person would do that. He would not blindly run into it. Fools run in where angels fear to tread. We have heard of this. Prabhupada quoted this. You have to sit down, watch, strategize, and then move. And it is a war. And I am going to actually be in charge of protecting so many people and my army and the people behind, the subjects and everybody. There are lots of responsibility on my head. So Arjuna is truly acting as a person who is a strategist, who is a great warrior and is a very intelligent fellow, a very intelligent person. So he sees everybody. And then what happens is that Krishna parks the chariot in between both. And then here is Sanjaya saying in 24, Sanjaya vacha evam mukto hrishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayor upayor madhye stapayitva ratottamam. That means he did do it. You see, you may be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if you become the charioteer, you have to play a role. Here is Arjuna ordering the Lord. It's very amazing. In the beginning, nobody knows what is happening in the Bhagavad Gita. But towards the end, you will appreciate, if you go back to the first chapter, my gosh, that's Arjuna ordered. Come on, driver, park it in between. And then he goes ahead and does it. But you don't know yet in the Bhagavad Gita who is Krishna. You will only follow the Mahabharata's lighter tone. That yeah, he's something very special. He is a God and everything like that. But very soon Arjuna will ask questions, and very soon Krishna will reveal himself in great detail. And then will come the question to you later at the end of the 18th chapter: how did Krishna land up being Arjuna's charioteer? What type of an offer is that? What type of a action is that from the Supreme? And that is what is most interesting to know. So I'll give you a little peek into that. What's happening here, I'll fast forward and peek so that you'll appreciate that. Krishna is going to, from the second, third, fourth, fifth chapter onwards, you will start getting to know who Krishna is slowly. Krishna will very nicely, strategically place it. But towards the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th chapter, he will fully reveal it. He will then reveal his universal form in the 11th chapter. And in the 10th chapter, he'll speak about his glories because Arjuna will ask for it. He will show his greatness. But now all you see is this person is the driver of the vehicle of Arjuna. It's just a driver. So Arjuna is giving an order and he is carrying it out. Now I'll just divert a little bit for you to appreciate this event. In Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself, for those who don't know and who are new here for the first time, Krishna reappeared in Kali Yuga again to personally teach the Bhagavad Gita, how to follow the Gita, how to live the Gita. Living the Gita is what Krishna came to teach as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a devotee of Krishna. That is, Krishna himself became a devotee of Krishna. Isn't that very amazing? It is. And he moved and merged himself inside human society, born in a Brahmin family. Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Mata were his parents. And then he enacted how one should be a devotee. So God comes, he appeared, and this avatar is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam and many places in the Vedas and Puranas and everywhere, that he will come as Sachi Putra. He will come in a place called Nabadvip on the bank of the Ganges, and he will take sannyasa. In the Bhagavatam, it says, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parishadam Yajnahi Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumedasha. That in Kali Yuga, Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parishadam. That Krishna will appear again, but he will not be black. He will not be dark colored. He will be Akrishna, the opposite of dark. He'll be golden complexioned. He's called Gauranga. Gaura means gold. And Gauranga means Anga means limbs. His whole body is golden complexion, right? Sango Panga Yajnayi Sankirtana Prayer. And he will teach the process of Yajna to be Sankirtana, Harinama Sankirtana, chanting the holy names of Krishna. Yajnayi Sankirtana Prayer. Yajantihi Sumedashaha. Yajanti means worship. And those people who are intelligent in Kali Yuga will worship him, will worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who is none other than Krishna himself. So this Lord Chaitanya, who appeared in this world in the English calendar 1486, 500 plus years have passed through. He appeared on the bank of the Ganges in this place called Mayapur, where ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has got its international headquarters. In that place, he appeared. And he actually took sannyasa when he was 24 years old, and he came to Jagannath Puri. And actually, he took a trip all over South India for 6 years. He traveled down. So that travels of his brought him down south. He came to Tamil Nadu. He came to Srirangam. In Srirangam, As he was going to visit the temple, he saw a group of people sniggering, giggling, and making fun of somebody in the center who was seriously studying some book. And so he found something important there. So he went towards that with his devotees. And here's what's going on here. They told him that, oh, the sannyasi called Gauranga has come. And so they all moved ahead and they reported to him that this man is professing to read the Bhagavad Gita. And we're just thinking that he doesn't know how to read, but he's reading something, they mumbled. So the Lord asked this man, yes, what are you doing? And the man, he had tears in his eyes. So he said, my guru has asked me to read the Gita. But I always knew that I'm not educated, I'm not literate, I'll never be able to read it. But then because he has mentioned I should read the Gita, I should follow his order. Therefore, I have bought a copy of the Gita and I'm sitting in front of the temple and trying my best to get into it. I am seeing this picture on the cover of how Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, the Lord of my heart, he has become a chariot driver and is serving his devotee Arjuna. How wonderful it is, isn't it? I was looking at that and I was feeling such emotion for the Lord and his mercy and his relationship with his devotee and how he is stooping down to do something for the Lord, for his devotee Arjuna. And thinking about that, I was moved by emotion and I felt at this thing. But maybe others here who are much more learned find this not to be something very interesting. But I wanted to just tell you my experience because you're asking me and you are a sannyasi. I offer my obeisances to you. At that time, Lord Chaitanya bent low and embraced this person to his heart. And he said, you don't have to know how to read and write. You've already known the Gita. You've got the spirit of the Gita. You've appreciated that Krishna has become a charioteer, even a charioteer, a driver, to serve his devotee. Since you've appreciated that, you know the Gita. In front of everybody, he said that, and everybody was stunned. And this sannyasi is recognizing this person who is illiterate as a person who knows the Gita. So because how? Just by watching this situation of Arjuna and Krishna, so intimately connected that even Krishna is becoming the charioteer. But lo and behold, we'll come back to our scene now. The Ratham is, taken and placed in between the two warring factions. And then Krishna tells Arjuna, okay, there it is. You want to watch? Go ahead, see it. And Krishna arranges for Arjuna to see the warring factions. Arjuna saw, in 26 you'll see, there Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and all his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus, Arjuna vacha. Now Arjuna starts speaking after experiencing what he had to see, right? And what happens there is very interesting to see. Okay, it looks like you are not seeing, yeah. One minute, looks like you're not seeing the screen. Yeah. Okay, here you see, I pointed out this to you. Number one, Dhritarashtra's inquiry, Duryodhana's diplomacy, Pandavas blowing their conch shells, and Arjuna scans the battlefield. He becomes weakened. So text 28, you will see, Drishtve mam swajanam Krishna Yuyutsam samupastitam sidanti mama gatrani mukham chappari shushyati vepatuscha. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. I don't see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Kim no rajena govinda, kim bhogair jivitena va. If you've got your books, 32, shloka 32 to 35. Kim no rajena govinda, kim bhogair jivitena va. Yesham arte kankshitam no rajyam bhogaha sukhani cha. Taime avastita yuddhe pranam styaktva dhanani cha. Acharyaha pitaraha putras tataiva cha pitamaha. Matulaha swasuraha pautraha shyalaha sambandhinastata. Eta nahantum ichhami gnato api madhusudhana. Abhitarilokya rajyasya hetaho kimnu mahi krite nihatya daratrashtranah ka pritihi syachanardhana. Very beautiful shloka. The translation, maybe I should ask one of you to read it, isn't it? Maybe I should ask one of you to read the translation. That would be interesting for Vijayadashmi. I'll tell you why. Because now I'm going to tell you afterwards the greatness of the first chapter and the greatness of reading the first chapter. So I want to give you the benefit. One of you, who here likes to volunteer? Alamelu Mangai has raised her hand. So I'll call upon Alamelu Mangai to read it. Alamelu Mangai, go ahead, read it.
Dhritarashtra's inquiry and then hope when Arjuna put down his bow. Duryodhana's diplomacy and fear of the army of the Pandavas arranged by Drishtadyumna.
Not
Pandavas
the screen.
can't.
Alamelu, not the screen. I want you to read the translation of text 32 and 35. If you've got it in front of you from Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is.
Yes,
have you got
yes,
it?
Yes. One second.
Read the translation of 32, 35.
1 second.
Yeah. Have you got it, Alamelu? Alamelu, are you there? I think we lost her. Okay, somebody else can read.
Yes, sir.
You're there, Alamelu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please read the translation.
32 and in Tamil. May I read in Tamil, sir?
No, you should read in English.
I have Tamil book only, sir.
Oh, okay. Then we need to get somebody to read in English because most of them here are in
No
English.
issues, sir.
Okay. Excuse me. So who wants to read that? There's a lot of people raising their hands on the auspicious day of Vijayadashmi, and I don't know how to give everybody a chance. So Suyendini, you want to read? Or who else wants to read? Suyendini, are you here? Or Dharana Mahesh?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
sure,
Suyendini, go ahead. Whoever, please. You're spending a lot of time.
32 to 35 translation.
Yes.
Oh Govinda, of what avail to us or a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? Oh Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandsons, brother-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will be derived from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Right. Thank you. Thank you. So,
It's my pleasure and blessing, Guruji.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you. So here are the arguments that come out from Arjuna. Now that Arjuna is sunk into the battlefield and is moved in, you will see now that Arjuna has got quite a lot of things that he is feeling. Here on the screen, I've listed for you. This chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which means the lamentation of Arjuna. Actually, a person who laments is in ignorance. Only those in ignorance will lament. Na shochati, na kankshati. If you're in knowledge, then you have no lamentation, no hankering. But Arjuna is showing lamentation like an ordinary conditioned soul of this world. So first what he's saying, he's feeling compassion for his relatives. He saw Bhishma, he saw Drona, he saw all of these great personalities, Ashwatthama, his cousin and his cousins and Guru and grandfathers and everybody. He feels, what is the situation? Why am I pitted against my own close relatives? Why should I fight for the sake of a kingdom? I mean, I don't want it. I don't want it. Kimno Rajyena Govinda. What is the use of enjoying this kingdom? Why enjoy the spoils of victory if all my relatives are going to die and I am going to be the reason for killing them? No, 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 no. I don't want to do that. It shows the great high moral capacity and the religious capacity of Arjuna. He doesn't want to break any rules and regulations. He's very powerful. You must remember on the same Vijayadashmi, some other thing also happened to show the power of Arjuna. You know, the Pandavas were all on their Ajñatavas on the 13th year of their exile, the last year, the 14th year. They are supposed to do Ajñatavas, means they should hide somewhere and they should not be recognized. And Duryodhana and gang were hell-bent on exposing them, so they'll have to say, oh, all your 14 years is useless. We found out where you are. That was like the challenge, the Kshatriya challenge. So they took residence in King Virata's kingdom. And they were all disguised. Arjuna was a eunuch called Brihanalla, teaching dancing. Right? And Bhima was a cook. Draupadi was some advisor. Yudhishthira was something else, etc., etc. Right? So the army of Duryodhana, they found out that somewhere in Virata. So let's do one thing. Let's make an excuse and actually attack the cattle and attack the horses and other things of King Virata. And we will actually divert Virata's army to another place by starting something else there. So they did something else and they got Virata's army to go that side, and they came and attacked the palace and where king was available, saying that they're attacking this thing, chasing the cattle and the horses and everything together. Some excuse, they did this whole strategy. And then the son of King Virata, Uttara, he took it upon himself as, I will fight. What do you think? And all, then Draupadi will say, you know, this Brihanalla is very talented. He knows to ride a chariot. You can take him. He's a very good charioteer. So amazingly, we're reading Bhagavad Gita, we just discussed Krishna is the charioteer. Arjuna, in his disguise as Brihanalla, he had 2 plates and he had a sari type of a thing and he was wearing a woman's dress sort of thing, eunuch. He was dressed like that. And he jumped on to the chariot and rode the chariot of Uttara. Uttara was initially surprised, what, this eunuch is pretty good and riding the chariot. So I'll cut the thing short. And then he ran there and he went there and he saw the fantastic army of the Kauravas. He saw Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Duryodhana and everybody there. And they started singing arrows at him and they started shouting at him. He quickly got up. Uttara got down and said, I'm not fighting this war. I'll definitely die. And he started running. There's only one chariot, Uttara's chariot, and he thought he's a great hero, and I will do it. And he took Brihanala. And then on that scene, you will see something funny happened. That the charioteer Brihanala said, no, wait, don't go, we can do it. So what nonsense we can do? Who are you, by the way? I am Arjuna. What? I am Arjuna. I'm not Brihanala. I am not the eunuch. What do you mean? I am going. He said, and then it's mentioned that he pulled up his skirt and he was chasing that Uttara on the, and the Kauravas were watching. That looks like Arjuna dressed like a woman. And they were, watching and seeing something happening there, something happening. This fellow is chasing. Then he caught hold of Uttara and said, come here, I tell you. And he took out his thing and said, I'm Arjuna. I'll show you. I've kept my Gandiva on top of that Shami tree where we are parked. Come here and help me get that. I will fight it for you and you take the credit. But don't go like a coward. He just boosted him up. And he said, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll do it. And then he really bolstered him up. And he said, climb up the tree. And he said, I can't do it. You climb up the tree. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I'm Arjuna. Then he went up and he saw on the tree, all the weapons of the Pandavas are kept. He said, take out my pack alone. And he brought down the pack. Gandiva bow he took out. And he said, listen, touch this. It's a Gandiva bow. You really are Arjuna? My gosh. And then he twanged the bow. And hearing the sound of the Gandiva, the Kauravas knew, this is Arjuna. The Pandavas are here. And then he said, come on, get in. You drive the chariot. And he said, me drive the chariot? You are a single guy. I am Arjuna. I'll do the needful. He bolstered him again. And then he started shooting such stinging arrows. It's mentioned that, Dronacharya couldn't face it. Bhishma couldn't face it. And then he shot a powerful arrow, put the entire army to sleep. And he did all sorts of things and he defeated them. They all turned around and ran away. Duryodhana's relative was killed. And just single-handedly, Arjuna handled the entire Kauravas. All these great people whom he's seeing, he knows he can handle. And then Uttara was wondering, you sure are great man, you sure are Arjuna. And then he went back and said, we defeated the Kaurav army. He was boasting, and Arjuna was just happy that he was able to fight after so many years and take his weapons. This whole 1 year has been so difficult for him in disguise. So coming back to our thing, that same Arjuna, who could very well defeat all of them, is now all of a sudden, boom, in great confusion and depression. And he is saying, I don't want to kill them because sinful reactions will befall us. We kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharmaha sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam kritsnam adharmo abhibhavatyuta. If you go to Shloka 39, with the destruction of dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Ardharma bhibavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah sristu dushtashu varshneya jayate varna shankara. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Imagine. So he will explain his reasons and say, family tradition will be spoiled, sinful reactions will come upon us. Why do I want to enjoy the spoils of this victory? And I feel these guys, they don't know what they're doing. Actually, they are nice guys. They don't know what they're doing. They're just externally somehow illusioned and they're doing something. Then generally he said, I don't know what to do, because he spoke a lot about family tradition being destroyed and he spoke about sinful reactions. And then finally, he said, Aho badamahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukalobhena hantum swajanam udyataha. Text 44. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen. How come this situation has come together is what Arjuna was thinking. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So, having thus spoken,
the video
is mentioned, Evam uktva Arjunah sankhe radopasta upavishat visrajya shariram chapam shoka samavignamanasah. Sanjay has said, Arjuna, having thus spoken to on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. That's the scene you saw in the picture I put up first to you.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Maharaj, live button on camera has to be pushed, Maharaj.
Oh. You don't see my video?
Yeah, no, it's good. No, it is.
Okay. Right. So, sorry about that. Some technical glitch. I am alone here. So, having thus discussed this, this is the scene that's happening on the battlefield. And we are being shown that Arjuna is not very happy about fighting this war. And he is confused. And he feels, I don't think there's any great profit going to come out of this. So we see here that this is something that I call an Arjuna moment of your life. If you can understand that everybody in his life has got these sort of moments. Yes or no? How many of you have this confused state, don't know what to do? Kim karameti, kim akarameti, kavayopyatra mohitaha. What to do and what not to do. Even the greatest of people get confused. How many of you think that you have been in situations where you're indecisive? You can't face that situation. Raise your hand, put on the chat or raise your hand and tell me how many of you really know that you have been in such situations and there are lousy situations, isn't it? Yeah. How many of you are raising hands? Many of you. Many of you. Of course. Of course. All of us know. Yeah, many of you. Problems, indecisiveness, situations that we are put into. We come into certain type of situations in life. We're thrown into situations and they're very problematic. They're very confusing. Sometimes they're excruciating. It's about relatives and people whom you love very much, isn't it? I'm sure all of you have been in the situations, many of you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing and lifting your hands and putting up on chat. I see many of you. Of course. We all have our Arjuna moments in life. Don't think that this is only for Arjuna, man. I'm just thinking and hearing Swamiji speaking Bhagavad Gita. Please relate to it. I want you to relate to it. These are Arjuna moments of your life too. They may not have exactly equal situation, but they're very similar. And you're thinking, boy, I wish I could get away from this. I want to get fight. I better take the flight. That's the type of thing we are in many times. I wish this had never happened. Frustration, anger, anxiety, all these things we suffer. We want to hang up. This is a boxer's gloves. You hang up the glove means I'm not ready to fight. I hang up and then I complain and then a lot of negativity runs inside me. I just want to turn around and run away from the situation. Most of us can't do it, especially in Kali Yuga. We don't have that internal strength to do it. We don't have the spiritual strength to do it because we don't know what is what. We don't have a clear understanding of what is happening in this situation. So it happens to all of us. It happened to Arjuna. And that is why we need people who will counsel us, who will actually help us and tell us what we should do. And you will see that Arjuna will actually solve his problem by seeking counsel of Arjuna, of Krishna, right? He will seek first. In first chapter, you see that he himself thinks about it, and he says arguments. He gives himself, like, things come up in our mind, all sorts of arguments, why you should not do something. But some of these moments in life, which I call the Arjuna moments, are the best moments in your life. That is the moment when you will learn. That is the moment when you will grow. If your face is headlong, somehow we don't want to miss that opportunity. Arjuna was getting ready to miss the opportunity, but Krishna turned him around and said, go ahead, face it. I'll be with you. And then he answered all Arjuna's questions and convinced him. That is what is the Bhagavad Gita that we're going to hear. It was all born out of a confusion that Arjuna was in, a lamentation that Arjuna was sinking into, a depressive mode that he was sinking into, a negativity that he was sinking into. And many of life situations are like that for us. But if you take the advice of Bhagavad Gita, if you take the advice of Krishna, and don't think this is the only situation that you have to be in. Arjuna is an epitome of the different type of situations that we are all in, and we get flummoxed, confused. And for any type of confusing situation, you have a solution in the Gita. You must remember this. It is a sutra for you to take home today. You have a solution for all your problems in the Bhagavad Gita. It is just that it is not the type of solution that you think in your mind, or it is not the type of solution that you like to have as a solution. These are all the problems in giving a solution to a person who's confused. He's stuck and attached to some type of solution that he wants. If you let go, and if you surrender to the counselor, the guru, here Krishna, and if you listen to him carefully, you get brilliant spiritual solutions to material problems. All material problems mostly can best be solved by spiritual solution. And that's what is the subject of the second chapter. What is spiritual? What is spirit? What is matter? Where are we? What are we getting into? The science of spirit will be expounded next. So here I'm quickly flowing through Dhritarashtra's inquiry, a flow chart for you of the first chapter, Duryodhana's fear and his great motivational talk to the Kauravas, saying, here's that person, this person, army, we have got a great army, let's move ahead. And the blowing of the conch shell of the Pandavas, then Arjuna's observance of the army, and then Arjuna's reasoning, his confusion, and then his refusal to fight. The first chapter ends with Arjuna saying, I don't want to fight. Nayotsi iti Govinda. I don't want to fight. I've decided. But then actually he has not decided. He's pretty confused. The beginning of the second chapter that we'll go through in the next week, we will see that Arjuna is being coaxed by Krishna. Arey, what is this weakness of the heart? You're a soldier. You're the great Arjuna. And he pumps him up a little bit, but that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And then Arjuna reveals a real internal deep problem he has. Actually, I am overcome by this weakness. I need counseling. I need help. Why don't you do it? And he'll submit to Krishna. Right? So we all have to recognize that we do have these situations in life. It's filled with these situations. And we have to learn to solve them. And we have to learn them, solve them the right way. You can have patchwork solutions also in the material world. Like this called the blowing the boil solution that Prabhupada spoke about, our founder, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If you have a boil, you can actually blow it. You can wet it a little bit with water and blow it. You get a cooling sensation. Ah, it's nice. But as soon as you stop blowing, it starts hurting again. And you have to again do it. How long will you blow? How long will the mother blow the boil? But the son is not listening to, let's go to the hospital. Let's do a very minor surgery and he'll scoop out the boil. And then after that, you'll be fine. He said, no. I don't want to solve the problem like that. So sometimes spiritual solutions requires that you let go of certain conditioning and you permanently solve the boil problem. You permanently solve your material problem and never again such problems will come up. Why not? Scoop the boil out instead of blowing the boil. So you'll get a lot of material patchwork solutions, quick fix solutions. These are not, Krishna solutions are not those quick fix solutions. They are long-term permanent solutions for solving your problem. And I'm sure each one of you would like to know how to permanently solve the problem. And those of you here at the Bhagavad Gita session here would like to do some amount of work, some amount of little tapasya, austerity and sacrifice to be able to permanently solve your problem. I'm sure. Otherwise, you wouldn't be committing yourself to be sitting here day in and day out and hearing this. So let's go for the spiritual solution from tomorrow onwards. All right. So that's the end of the chapter, of the first chapter. And what I'm going to do now is briefly visit the greatness of this chapter and why I asked you to read the chapter and some of the shlokas today. Would you like to hear that? Only if you say uproariously, yes, we want to hear that story, am I going to say it. Otherwise, I'm going to end the session here because it is 9:11 and I like to give you some time for answering questions. Do you want me to say, no, we want to hear that story. Today is Vijaya Dashami and we have started the first chapter. We want to hear it. Unless I hear a uproarious, yes, we want to hear, I don't want to go ahead because I'm also sleepy and I just did a Tamil session. Unless I have students who say, wow, let's do it, I don't feel like going ahead. So what? You're going to raise your hands and say, yeah? Or you want to say, it's okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, Maharaj. Please, Maharaj.
Yes,
Yes, Maharaj. We want to
yes,
hear.
yes,
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 yes, we
sir.
want to hear it, sir.
Yes,
Finally,
Maharaj. Yes,
the
Maharaj.
static screen has come alive. Am I happy to hear people talking? Wow. Because all the videos are shut and I don't know whom I'm speaking to. All the videos are shut and then once in a while when there is action, I feel great here. Thank you very much. On Vijay Dashmi Day, some of you have chosen to open your videos and show your countenance to me that I'm a witness and say, I'm speaking to persons. I'm not speaking to a machine, a bland black machine with some titles written on it on the screen, right? Life feels great. Thank you very much for all those who are putting on the videos and showing me, I am a person. I want you to relate it. Please. Thank you. Thank you. Action. Wow. Wow. Good. Thank you. Now I feel like talking for sure. So this is a story from the Padma Purana on the greatness of the first chapter. I'll take a few minutes to tell you that. It's an exciting story. And I thought I should tell you because today is Vijaya Dashami. And all of you are chanting, or you did read, or some of you were able to experience the first chapter to some extent. And what is that? And it is a series of stories about the greatness of each chapter spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati. And in that he's recollecting how Vishnu is talking to Lakshmi. In that story, Parvati is hearing from Shiva that Shiva is telling about a story of Vishnu lying on the beautiful serpent bed. You know, if you go to Thiruvananthapuram, Trivandrum, as it was called by the British, at Thiruvananthapuram, you will see the beautiful Padmanabha Swami temple. In that you will see the Lord. Many of you are Malayalis here from Kerala. So the Lord will be residing beautifully on the Ananta Sesha, right? He'll be sleeping down and very beautiful pose in his aquiline nose and his hand hanging down, and then the snake Ananta Sesha. So very beautiful. You'll see to 3 entrances, the darshan. It's a big story to that. Someday we can think about it. But he's residing on Ananta Sesha. So he was speaking to Lakshmi very casually, and Lakshmi was asking, well, she asked about, how you're maintaining your energies and how you're running this whole, everything is done by my energies. Like the Shastra says, the Veda says, Para ashaya shaktir vividhaiva shuyate swabhavika jnana bhala kriyacha. For each one of us, we want to do something, we got to plan, strategize, have a project management consultancy come in, and then, plan the thing, pull the architect, and then call the contractors, and we have so many things to do to build a small place. We are building a big temple here now in Coimbatore on 8 acres of land. We're building a massive 1.5 lakh square feet of temple and, samskara hall and, academies, educational halls and blah, 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 so many things together. A lot of trouble we have to go through, coordinating with so many people. But, it's not like that for the Lord to do things. Swabhavika jnana bala kriyacha. He just has to desire and his energies automatically operate and boom, get the thing done. How wonderful it will be to be like that, right? We can keep doing projects like nothing. Wow. But unfortunately, I'm not God. None of us are. None of us are. We have to labor very hard. So the Lord is being appreciated by Lakshmi. Your energy is operating to do everything. Yeah, I don't have to do anything much. And then he's speaking about, but even then, within those energies that are operating, I am very keen in looking into all my wonderful devotees and the living entities in this world. They need help and they need this thing. I have to play the role as Vishnu. I'm here for that. And then, but everything I have spoken in the Bhagavad Gita about how my energies operate and how the living entities can take shelter of those energies. But they don't. And that's what is of great concern to me. That's why I've spoken the Bhagavad Gita. Just like Susharma, he took advantage of this and he gained tremendous benefit. He read the Gita. Then Lakshmi said, oh, who is that Susharma? Can you tell me about him? And then the Lord related about Susharma was a wonderful Brahmana. You must remember that Lord Shiva is speaking the story. And in that story is about Vishnu and Lakshmi. So Parvati is hearing. So Susharma was a wonderful Brahmana once upon a time, but gradually by bad association, he fell lower and lower and lower and lower and became a lousy drunkard. He was drinking wine every day, a Brahmana, and he was eating meat every day. He was breaking all the principles. And he was making money here and there by selling leaves and this and that and doing all sorts of sinful stuff. One fine day, he was in this whole, banana orchard and he was getting all the leaves, and then there was a snake that bit him and he died on the spot. And what happened to him? Yama Dutas came and dragged him out, took him to Yamaloka. And he, as a Brahmana, has to suffer immensely. Why? A Brahmana is a very responsible position. And if a Brahmana steps down and does sinful activities, he is to be punished 1,000 times more than an ordinary person. Right? So he was being punished in that hell and this hell and that hell and this hell. And he was really pulled down on his consciousness, and he was pushed into the body of a bull, and he took birth as a bull. A bison, a bull. In Tamil, they say Yerumai. And Yerumai means bull, and buffalo means one type of guys, there's no sensation, very low consciousness. And that bull was purchased by a crippled man. And that crippled man was loading the bull with goods every day. And that bull was carrying those loads and loads of stuff and really struggling like nothing every day. A lot of work it was doing. For about 9-10 years, it was carrying loads and loads and loads. You must remember, this bull is Susharma, a great Brahmana who became a bull. And don't think this is a fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen. It actually happened. And it will happen to you and me also. I'll tell you how by the end of the session. The bull, one fine day, he loaded too much on it. And the whole cart toppled over and the bull couldn't take it and fell on the ground and everything fell on top of the bull and the bull was almost going to die, lying on the road in the pathway. And then lots of people gathered there together and said, oh, the poor bull loaded so much by this man and it's going to pass away. I think it's going to die. And so each one started, you see, this is a very cultured society, okay? Don't compare it to what's going on today. Nobody will care for the bull. It's a cock and bull story, they will say, most probably, if I talk a story about a bull. So they not care about the bull at all. They will walk away. But people are cultured people there said, oh, they know this bull is another soul. He's passing away. He's going through pain. Whoever it is, who knows? But we should help out. So each one started giving a little bit of their pious activity to the passing away bull. You see what they do? They just don't give some donation of a few pieces of this or that. They give something a lot weighty. Some of my pious activities from this, I handed over to the bull. Each one came and gave. Then one prostitute came there too. What's going on here, man? And she saw that everybody's offering something. What can I offer? I'm full of sin. But I want to do something for this bull. Even she felt. She said, if at all I have done anything, one thing I have done, I remember. I think that is something good. And she offered the benefit of that to the bull. Bull died. Scene changes. Act 2, scene 1. It's not a Shakespeare drama, but it's Yamaloka. Yamaloka. And the bull is standing there. The soul Susharma has finished his bull life and standing there. And Chitragupta is reading, Hare Baba, all records wiped out. And Yamaraj, you have completely cleared all your sin activity. There is a prostitute who gave you all her pious activity. She alone has cleared everything for you. Now you're cleared. Boom. I'm sending you to a rich Brahmin family. So Sharma became a bull. Now the bull is born in a powerful Brahmin family. Suchi nam Srimatam gehe yogo brashto bijayate. Krishna is explaining. In the 6th chapter, you'll see what happens to a person who is pursuing this path as a Brahmana, as a yogi, and falls down. Don't worry, Arjuna. They will take birth in rich, aristocratic, sattvic Brahmin families, and they'll pursue again their spiritual path. So this Brahmana was born somehow in a wonderful Brahmin family. But amazing thing about this Brahmana was he could remember his past life. There was something special about him because he was very powerful, Tejas Brahmana. So he remembered and said, wow, I remember my life as a bull. And then in Yamaloka, I was told that prostitute did something so good for me. Why don't I look out who that prostitute is and thank her for it? I want to go and meet her. So he went around looking for her and found her. He found the prostitute. Remember from previous lives. And don't think this is not happening today. It's happening today. There are case histories of people who come and say, I've lived here in so-and-so place in Timbuktu, or I've lived here in England, or in Herefordshire, or I've lived in this place, that place, from other part of the earth globe. They go there and show, yeah, I stayed here. Look at this. And there's another cutting here. There's a street. And there's an old lady who stayed here. Her house number is so-and-so. I remember all these things, and it's exactly like that. So even today, case histories of people who know that they have reincarnated. If you can Google Ian Stevenson, Dr. Ian Stevenson, you'll see all his studies on reincarnation. Interesting. But anyway, back to our scene. He went and met the prostitute. And the prostitute was very surprised and said, do you know that, so now you've become very old, so you may not, but you know that there's a dying bull? She said, yeah, I am that bull. I've come back again as a Brahmana. And she was very surprised. And it's because of you. You offered me something that cleared me of all the sins. What did you offer? What did you offer to me? And she said, oh, Actually, Brahmana, it is this parrot in this cage. The parrot was chanting something, some nice prayer. And every time it chanted, I would feel so nice in my heart because I'm such a sinful woman. Every time I heard the parrot chant, I feel, wow, this is good. This is nice. Every day I would hear that parrot chant that. And I asked the parrot, please chant, please chant. And it would chant. So they both said, even I didn't bother what it is the prostitute said. So don't you want to find out what that is that has created such a thing? Yeah, I too want to. Let's ask the parrot. And there's an old parrot sitting there. And they went to the parrot. And the parrot recognized and said, yeah, I did chant. I was chanting the Bhagavad Gita. Really? How did you get to chant the Bhagavad Gita? And you're only a parrot. And then the parrot said, no, I'm not just a parrot. I too can remember my previous life like you. Brahmana, I was also a Brahmana in my previous life. Come, another story inside another story inside another. I'm also a Brahmana in my previous life. And you know what happened? I was very proud of my learning and of my panditya that I had. I was very proud. And I insulted a lot of other Brahmanas. I did that, I did this and everything. So when I died, I suffered a lot in hellish climate. And then I was born as a parrot. And my parents abandoned me on the hot beach sand somewhere. And I was almost going to die. Some rishis came by and said, oh, a nice small baby parrot. And they picked me up and they took me to the ashram. One of them kept me in the ashram in a small place. And I was so grateful that I was fed water and some leaves and something I ate. And in the ashram, they were chanting the Bhagavad Gita. Dhritarashtra vacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavas chaiva kimma kurvata sanjaya. That's how it starts. And they were also sweetly chanting, and I learned the chanting. I learned too. And I also started chanting with all of them. And then one fine day, a thief came and took me away from there. He said, nice parrot that chants Sanskrit shlokas. Wow. And he took me away. He stole me from that ashram. And he sold me to this prostitute. This lady bought me, paying some of her inglorious income that she got. But she's a pious lady, I tell you, because she kept hearing me throughout and getting pleasure out of it. I was chanting the first chapter and she was hearing it. And in this way, Susharma, reborn, along with the prostitute, both heard this and said, therefore we should chant this chapter because it does so good to you. Susharma went back home. He chanted the first chapter. This prostitute started chanting the first chapter. The parrot started chanting the first chapter. They all went back home, back to Godhead. The Padma Purana says. Lord Vishnu is saying, they all came back to me. Right? So now, today is Vijayadashmi, and all of you chanted the first chapter. I am praying all of you go back to Godhead on Vijayadashmi day to Krishna. Right? So this is the Mahatmya of the first chapter. I thought I'll share it with you because it's Vijayadashmi. Okay? And don't think in your mind, oh, it's a fantastic about talking parrots and, you know, bulls that were reincarnated and some funny brahmanas who were reincarnated and some prostitute. No, it's true. There are so many janmas like that we all have passed. Bahunam janmanam ante. Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita. And he's saying, Antakale chamame basmaran muktva kale varam. He's saying that whatever you think of at the time of death, what consciousness you are in your next life, you'll be born like that. And we are all taking births according to what consciousness we have held in our previous lives at the time of death also. And obviously, since we are human beings, we have done quite some amount of pious activity. And now we are doing something very wonderful. We are reading the Gita. And we are actually chapter by chapter trying to understand it. And now we are going deeper into each shloka and trying to understand it as much as we can. So please read the Gita. It's wonderful. It's going to give you amazing amount of benefit, like we saw in the Gita Mahatmya of Shankaracharya. Maline mochanam pumsam jalasnanam dine dine sakrit Gita mritasnanam samsara malanashanam. Samsara mala nashanam. All the things that you're carrying on for janmas and janmas and janmas, all the dirt will just disappear. Like it disappeared for the prostitute, for the Shusharma Brahmana, for the parrot and everybody, and they went back to God it. Okay? Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.